Excellent. Okay. Well, given that we're under recording conditions, I'm going to kick off. I understand that it's Friday. We've got a bit of a small group here to begin with. I imagine it will start to pick up over the next 5 or so minutes as people finish up one session, move into the next session. But I think it's a great opportunity to kick off. This session is going to be talking about the Gender Equitable AI Toolkit that will be led by the Nethope AI Working Group. If you could switch to the next slide. So we're going to talk a little bit about the toolkit itself. And then actually today we're going to do a little less on the presentation, a little bit more on the participation. So if you are joining in the live session today, we encourage you to participate. If you're going to be watching this in the future, then we encourage you to both watch it and engage in the activities, because we hope that this will lead to some good inputs for the toolkit itself. So I'm going to quickly introduce myself. My name is Percival. I'm the outgoing co-lead of the Nethope AI Working Group. Synne, I'll get you to introduce yourself on your side.
Hi, everyone. My name is Synne Olsen, and I am Open Innovation Facilitator for Humanitarian OpenStreetMap team. And I just joined a couple of weeks ago as the new co-lead for the AI Working Group in Nethope. So I'm very pleased to be here and meeting you all.
Wonderful. And as Synne just mentioned, as the new co-lead of the Nethope AI Working Group, this session is a bit of a passing of the torch as well. So I'll be handing over to Synne. So I'll start out, and then slowly we'll kind of work, I'll work myself out, and Synne will take over, which will be also to follow on this workshop, as well as the monthly Nethope AI working groups, which you can sign up to as a Nethope member. If you could move to the next slide, please. Okay, so a little bit about where this started and why. I think what many people know is probably not something I need to explain when it comes to AI and the issues that have come up around the use of AI, biases that are raised, and the disproportionate effect of AI on women and girls. There's a lot of data that came out of this. We've got some resources that we can share after, and we'll pop in the Pathable for those that are catching up later, to just look at how heavily this effect happens. Now, we also know that there's a lot of hype and excitement in the for social impact space when it comes to AI. And so what we want to make sure is that as this kind of excitement generates for using AI in development context, in complex contexts or constrained ones, we want to make sure that this is done in an inclusive and gender equitable way. Next slide, please. So what we are going to do today is we're going to spend about 20 to 25 minutes playing games. This might not be the typical kind of presentation that you're used to, but what we want to do is we want to start this process of gathering inputs to this toolkit, because this toolkit is not just going to be a regular toolkit. It's not going to be one that, we pump out a good PDF, we share that with everybody else. This toolkit is going to be an evolution. It's going to be something that happens over time. And it's something that will gather inputs from people working around AI for social impact space, and become this big crowdsourced repository of projects, of templates, of all sorts of different resources that people will be able to contribute, and it will be like a living toolkit. So to start this process, what we're going to do is we're going to take ourselves on a time trip to the future. If you can click to the next one. And with this, we're going to exercise our brains in this little process called episodic future thinking. And it's basically how we trick our brains into thinking into the future. And we're going to do this by playing a game that is a scenario. So for those that are on the call with us today, we're going to propose a scenario to you. We're going to talk you through it. And then we want you to think about and reflect how you feel about this scenario. So the activity that we'll do, and Synne is going to share a Jamboard into the chat in just a second, is we're going to write a journal entry for ourselves from the future in 2030. And I'm going to set up a scenario that I'm going to encourage each of you to think about. And then I'm going to set a few challenges, and we'll give you about 5 minutes to just think in the future. Oh, how do I feel about this? What am I excited about? What worries me, et cetera, et cetera. So good morning and welcome to Summit Selection Day. Today is the day that speakers for the 2030 Nethope Summit are selected to speak and share their experiences from all around the globe, and you're in the mix. As we know, Nethope is a data-driven, tech-forward organization, so this year's submissions will be selected using a powerful combination of data, AI, ML, and automation. This will remove or aims to remove any human biases creeping into the selection process. So good luck, and here's to a more inclusive summit for 2030. Now, I do have to caveat that this has not come from Nethope. I am making this up for the sake of the scenario, but I'm worried that I'm going to get feedback somewhere along the lines to say, hey, this is not real. Absolutely, we want you to imagine yourself into the future. So next slide, please. So in this, we know that a proprietary model has been developed in-house with a private sector partner, but Nethope has openly shared some key criteria for speaker selection. One, that speakers will be selected based on past performance. So entire database of all summit speakers that have ever contributed to Nethope will be analyzed. It will be combined with a global events database, which will use gender, reach, previous experience, and participation to select speakers. Central casting. So this is a new algorithm that's been developed specifically for this event. So photos of past presenters will be scanned, stored, and analyzed to identify which presenters will lead the greatest global engagement. We also will be doing social sentiment analysis, where social media sentiment analysis will be undertaken, and submissions that align more closely with what's happening in the social media space will score higher. Two more criteria. Next slide, please. Okay, and there's two more things. So one is about going green. We understand that in 2030, being carbon neutral is a very important part of Nethope's strategy. And so bonus scores will be given that increases the suitability of people who are submitting to attend in person at Nethope HQ. We also have one final criteria that will be helping select that those that reach the highest 20% of scores. So if your score after all of those criteria is in the top 20%, you'll receive a full scholarship to attend, participate, and present at a plenary at the Nethope HQ. Okay, so there was a lot of information there, and hopefully everyone's following along. We can switch back and forward if we would like. However, what we now will do is put 5 minutes on the clock to think about how you're feeling about this future. You'll need to write just a quick journal entry. Dear journal, today is the day I might get selected for the Nethope Summit, etc., etc. Free associate, imagine as if it was just your own journal. And then if you're kind of struggling, think about a few things. So what might keep you up at night thinking about this future? Or what are you excited to get up for today to live this future? If Synne, you haven't already done so, can you post the, oh yeah, Jamboard's in there, fantastic. And so what we would like everyone to do is once you've had a little bit of think about what the journal entry could be, is to add it into the Jamboard that Synne has just posted the link for. So those that are here, we encourage you to do this now. I'm going to kind of give us, say, 5 minutes just to think about what this might look like and to write into the journal. And for those that are watching this in the future, we encourage you to kind of write your own journal entry as well.
let me just add, Bo, that in the Jamboard, there's actually 4 pages. So if you prefer to start writing and typing in the Jamboard in your own space, feel free to jump into any of them.
The other thing I just might add there too is that if you are run out of space, feel free to pick up another post-it and continue on. Or if you've kind of come up with your journal entry, you're more than welcome to add a second one in based on how you feel about this future. We'll also post these Jamboards to our Pathable. So if you're watching this afterwards, then you can also pick up on the Pathable. And welcome to those who have just joined. We're just going through a scenario at the moment. Actually, Synne, I might get you to throw back a couple of slides if you can, for those that are just kind of coming in. We're imagining a future in which all of the speaker selection for the Nethope Summit is done using AI and ML. And there's a few criteria that will weight the model that is being used. This includes past experience, image recognition for previous speakers, distance from Nethope HQ, and there's one other one that I'm forgetting. Sorry, can you switch it to the next slide? Is, oh, social sentiment. So analysis of social media to see whether or not submissions align with current trends on social media. And then what we're doing as an activity is just to think a little bit about what the journal, if you were to write a journal in this future, what that journal might look like, what that journal entry might look like. Another thing to add here for those that are just joining. So as we go through this scenario, we're thinking about what the future might look like for AI and how Nethope might be selecting submissions for future summits, for Summit of 2030, in fact. All of the inputs that we're going to be taking today over these activities that we're doing, you will actually be using as inputs to the toolkit that we're talking about today. So this is kind of an example of one of the exercises or one of the ways that we might be soliciting inputs into the toolkit. We'll have, actually, I think I'm going to take a bit of what Synne is going to talk about in the future, so I'm not going to go too much into that, but there'll be many opportunities to engage over the next 12 months. And as we get to the end, Synne will talk a little bit more about how to do that and how to stay in touch. Okay, one more minute, and then we're going to move on to the next part of the activity. Okay, so please, if you've written your journal entry, add it into the Jamboard. If you want to wrap it up in the next 30 seconds, totally fine, you can do that as well. And welcome to those new members who have just joined. Okay, so what we want to think about as we move forward is what kind of tools, what kind of ideas, what kind of things might exist that will help us today to develop this toolkit to increase the participation of women and girls in AI initiatives, particularly for social impact. So what we're going to think about now is some things that we know to be true about AI for social impact. So if you can switch to the next slide, that would be great. So doing another activity here, sorry, back one, yeah, great. So this is an activity that everybody now, if you've just joined, can join in if you missed the first one. But this is an activity called Flip the Future. So basically what we want to do is we want to think about what the future looks like now and what we know to be true, and then thinking about where we would like that future to go. So this is a pretty simple activity. And actually, I'm being quite kind. If you want to play this activity by yourself, it's actually called 100 flips of the future. So you would actually do this activity 100 times. But we're only going to do it maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe 3 times today. So what we're going to do is we're going to choose this topic of AI for social impact, and particularly related to gender, diversity, and inclusion. And even more specifically, if you want, related to the participation of women and girls. Now, the next thing that you have to do is write down a fact that you know to be true about this today. So it might be, we know that data sources are biased. We know that models are often developed in Western countries. I'm not going to give too many away because I would probably like either steal or give you the answers for this. And then what you want to do is write down, like, maybe if you can get 5, that would be great. Make them as simple and as heavy-handed as you want. And then once you've got those 5 of the facts, the 5 facts of the future, let's call it, you're going to flip them to the exact opposite. And what we're trying to do here is imagine a future that is like nothing as we recognize it today. So the example that I've got here is the fact that we know today is the majority of AI or ML engineers are men from Western countries. And so if we think 5 years ahead and we flip that, it could be that the majority of AI ML engineers are non-binary from African countries. So this is just a very like coarse example, but I want to encourage everyone on this call to have a little think about this. I think Synne has just put a Jamboard into the chat for those. Yep, fantastic. And so you can list, if you want, like you could list it down, like what your current fact is on like a red one, what your future fact is on a green one. And you can go in any direction. So if you're flipping that fact, actually I can give a non-related AI example, but it might be like, say I choose the topic of shoes and I say like, right now shoes are all worn on our feet. And in 5 years time, shoes will not be worn on our feet. So it's a really simple activity, but it might take a little bit of thinking. And also I encourage you to think in the direction that you want to go. So with this challenge question is like, what will it take to get from here to there, which we're going to explore a little bit in a second. But I would like to encourage everyone to think a little bit about what the future might look like, or what the future is that we think it should look like. And I'm going to start the timer now. So we're going to have another 5 minutes to do this. Oh, 6 minutes. Sorry, I put up there 6 minutes to do this activity. And we can go for it now. I probably will keep talking just if people come in so that it doesn't go too silent. But thinking about this, what the future looks like, the facts that we know to be true today, and then if we flip that in 5 years' time, what it will look like. And you can add your entries into the Jamboard that Synne just posted.
Yeah, sorry about the double posting of the links. I'm just making sure that the newcomers also have the right links here. And also for everyone in the Jamboard, you will see an example in the top of the Jamboard. There's also 2 pages. So if you wanna jump into a second page, go for it.
The other thing to increase collaboration as we go through this, if you see a fact that you want to flip in a different direction, feel free to do that as well. So if there's a fact on there that you like the look of and you also could see a different future, feel free to flip someone else's. Okay, just 2 more minutes to kind of wrap this one up. There's a couple of super interesting facts, and actually, Synne, after the 2 minutes is up, I'm going to just throw to you for a bit of a playback of what's like the last couple of Jamboards, if that's okay. So yeah, if you wanted to get your contributions on, now is a good time, and then I'll pass on to Synne to just give us a quick overview of what's been happening.
Sounds good, Bo. Thank you. I see we still have people writing a little bit, but I'm just gonna start with what we have. So there's we have some facts here. I'll give one example here. Social media sentiments about women and girls are more negative and violent than those about men. The flip side of that is social media sentiments about women and girls are more positive and protective than those about men. Interesting. Let me also share another one here. Fact: AI is based on human intelligence, and so it's biased. Flip side of that, AI is biased on robot intelligence. No, sorry, AI is based on robot intelligence, and it is not biased. A third one here, people and industry, and Bo, just stop me due to time. I'm just gonna go ahead. Perfect. Fact: people in industry are still highly dependent on cars and petrol diesel fueled vehicles. The flip side of that is we will have a more collaborative transportation system with shared transportation routes and industries and personal journeys that are 100% net zero, not using any fossil fuels. Oh, what a beautiful picture. All right, we have more coming in here. So participation of women and girls in social impact settings is often low. And the flip side of that is that it's high and that it's led by women. Another fact, AI models disproportionately negatively impact women and girls. And the flip side of this is AI positively affects all groups equally, question mark. Great one. All right, I see some are still writing, and I would say continue doing that. Bo, I'll just, sorry, I'll hand over to you again.
Excellent. Thanks very much, everyone, for your contributions. I think it's great to keep contributing even after the session. If you're watching the session later, then yeah, we really encourage you to keep thinking about this, because when we think about developing this toolkit for the participation of women and girls in AI initiatives, we want to make sure that we can consider all the possible problems that we face now, but where all the opportunities lie in the future. Because one thing that we do know about this, as we started this journey of setting up the toolkit, is that there is so much work happening around this space, but quite a lack of coordination. I would say that there's a lot of like toolkits around ethical use of this and like how to use AI responsibly, and many agencies put this out. And what we're actually looking to do with this one is not to just create another toolkit that says similar things, but to actually create something that aggregates and brings all of those different things into one place. So this next exercise or this next activity that we're going to do is actually going to give us an opportunity to quickly get out there and have a look. So while mostly I would encourage people not to be looking on the internet while we're doing a presentation, for the next 5 to so minutes, I'm actually going to encourage everybody to go to your device or go to a Google search. And what I would like everyone to look at is see if you can find some of the clues for tomorrow today. So like, are there projects that are happening in our space that are already showing this kind of future that we're looking for? Are there blogs out there of people like challenging the current way of thinking? And this is kind of now moving towards where the toolkit is going, that once we have this kind of this collective repo of all of these different resources, then someone can come and say, oh, I'm about to set up a new project in, Tanzania using AI for cash transfers. I don't know, I'm just kind of grasping at straws here, but has that already happened? Is it already happening? Is there someone who's talking about it? Is there someone who's showing us how it's done? And so what we'd like to do now is we're going to encourage you. I've written 5 minutes on here, but actually it might take a little bit longer. So I'm going to try maybe squeeze this out to like 6 or 7 minutes. And we're going to encourage everybody that's on the call to Google in the direction of the future that you would like to see. So you can go to that last Jamboard that we're just looking at, those flipped facts. The other thing that is worth, a couple of things that might help out here. When you're Googling, Google the topic that you're looking for, and then then just add the future of in front of whatever that topic is. So for this one, I Googled the future of AI the future of gender and AI in Africa. Like, it was a very coarse search. And what you're just trying to do is find any clue that you can about this future potentially coming true. So with that, I'm really excited about this. I'm hoping that everyone will kind of like take a few minutes to go and do a quick Google and see what you can find about some of these flipped futures that we might find clues for today. And if you can post that article, the link, something to the Jamboard, then that would be great, because this right now is the beginning of the development of the toolkit. And you're the first contributors. So 1, we appreciate your contribution, and 2, we encourage you to go deep. You can post as many as you want. If you find one, I would encourage maybe just quickly vetting it before it gets put into there. We will also do that too as we start to collate this. But yeah, check it out, put it in there, and then see how many we can get in the next like 6 minutes to give us a good foundation by which to co-develop this toolkit. Okay. I'm going to start with 6 minutes, and then we'll see how everybody's going before we move on to the next section.
We're pretty good on time also, Bo. So that's Good.
Fantastic. Okay, in that case, we'll let it run for a little bit so we can get a good start in here. Oh, and the Jamboard has been posted for those that didn't see it. Thanks, Synne. The other thing that I'll encourage people to have a look for, in addition to articles, is also projects, even products, software that might exist that kind of might be doing this. And one kind of additional challenge for those that might be finding it a bit easy to find these examples, see if you can, and maybe pop it on a red post-it, that looks for clues that might be taking us in the opposite direction of what we want to go. So what are the things that we need to be aware of? What are the risks that we might be facing as well? So yeah, projects or organizations, software, and then if there's anything that takes us away from where we're heading. All right, a lot of really cool stuff coming through. I'm gonna say maybe another minute. No, maybe let's go 2 minutes. Because I'm getting stuck reading the stuff that other people are posting. So yeah, maybe another minute just to kind of add a couple more in there. And then Synne, in that next minute and a half, I might get you to just kind of like have a look at a couple of those and pull out things that you might be that do a playback for us essentially.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'm also getting stuck reading all of this. This is great. This is fantastic. I'll wait a couple of minutes, right? And then get to it.
Yeah, maybe just like give us 1 more minute and then yeah, I'll throw over to you.
Sounds good. Perfect.
The other thing, just as a bit of a thought piece for those that are contributing, have a look at the dates of some of the articles that are coming through. It's somewhat not the most exciting thing to look at, but some of the stuff has been this has been a problem for quite a long period of time. So it's interesting also to note that, yeah, how long the change might take. I mean, maybe I put 2030 there or 5 years into the future, but hopefully we can accelerate that, yeah, as we go through. Okay, Synne, I'm going to hand over to you. I think the time is about to go off. So yeah, all yours.
All right. Thank you, Bo. So there's a lot in here. Please keep adding. If you have more, I'll just summarize a little bit. So there's everything from decolonial AI to how artists are hacking bias in algorithms. I think there's a couple of projects also here. I've just briefly heard about. I'd blush if I could. If we had time, I would love to discuss more of this, but we'll also get to the next steps. And I'm hoping that we can get the audience here to join us and collaborate in the future. Rethinking artificial intelligence through feminism. We have the future of AI, how artificial intelligence will change the world. We also have a couple of research articles, which is great and also quite interesting. I've just briefly started speaking to some people in our Nethope environments, and research has been one of the things that has also been highlighted here. So this is very interesting. Let me just increase the size of some of these. What is the future of supply chain logistics? Very interesting. How also supply chains, how will supply chains evolve in an energy constrained, low carbon world? This artist is creating a belligerent, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this word correctly, algorithm to expose AI bias. Wow, okay, interesting. There's a lot here, Bo and the rest. This is fantastic. And I would just say again, there's a second page. If there's not enough space here, keep adding. And I'll also drop a couple of more post-its here so you can just copy and paste them.
Excellent.
Anything?
Thanks very much. All good, Synne. Thanks very much. I'd blush if I could. I only came across recently, but it's absolutely worth a read. It's like, I really like good campaigns, so I think it really it's a really interesting and challenging campaign. So echoing Synne's words there, thank you very much for participating in those 3 activities. We are absolutely, that information that you've just contributed is going to be forming the foundations and the starting point for a lot of what's going to come into the toolkit. And with this is my opportunity to kind of like tap out and pass over to Synne. It's my last event as a co-lead of the AI working group. So Synne, now over to you to talk a little bit about like what's in store for the future and where we go from here with the toolkit and the AI working group.
Thank you, Bo. I'm taking the torch, and it's an honor to be following you. And my other co-leads is not able to join us today, but I hope you get to meet her also. If you're not already part of the working group, I would say reach out to us, and I'll get to that in a minute, how to also do that. I just figured ending this session by doing a quick recap on this project, so the Gender Equitable AI Toolkit. So the project aim here, if that wasn't clear from the beginning, is to create an open, free toolkit that really brings together all of these, whether it's tools, resources, case studies, that can support practitioners when trying to enhance and improve their approach to participation, so empowered participation of women and girls in AI for good initiatives from end to end. And I think that's an aspect that is missing. The outcomes here, obviously, we're seeking to create a broader awareness of gender equity issues in AI, and also including in the AI for Good projects. And obviously contributions to the toolkit once it's released. This is a living, it will be a project over a year, and we're aiming to launch the toolkit, hopefully together with some of you also, or all of you, in the next year, next summit. The aim here and the outcome is to have it live on. And finally, empowered participation of women and girls in the development in the content. So we will really be, reliant on collaboration and alliances here. I'm just going to very briefly, and I'm just looking at time, I think we're still good, just give you a quick overview of what comes next. So the timeline here, you got to see today a little bit of a sneak peek into this project. We had this project was officially announced, was it a month ago, Bo? I think quite recently. And this project received funding from the Nethope Collective Impact Fund 2022. And yeah, we're very excited about launching this already next month. So the aim here is to launch the project and really start, kick it off next month, which is very soon. Then there will be a period where we will do a landscape analysis, and this is some of the things that we're aiming to do here is really seeing and trying to understand where, well, I guess starting with this Jamboard, also seeing what is out there, what are the gaps, and what is really needed. And from the very beginning, let me also just say we want people to collaborate on this. There will be, I think, a period where there will be content development. I think everyone here is probably familiar with the design thinking approach. I think although this looks very linear, I think there will be some, getting something out there, testing, iterating, having discussions, and having a collaborative approach to this. So I should have perhaps made this a little bit more vibrant in the timeline. But when we get to October next year, the hope is to finalize the toolkit, and then, as I was just saying before, publish the toolkit and this project during the next summit next year. This is very, very briefly what will come next. And I think what I would like to talk a little bit more about is collective intelligence. I really see, I started in Humanitarian OpenStreetMap team and joined Nethope only lately. And one of the things that has really struck me, whether it's my own organization, Nethope, and many of the members of Nethope and beyond, is I'm very fascinated by the collective intelligence here. There's a massive amount of open source resources, tools. There's videos. There's so much. I really I'm very excited to get started on this project. And I want to say, like, obviously the target audience for this project is all Nethope members and partners. But I'm also hoping to go beyond that. And so I'm wondering, based on what you have heard today, do you want to contribute to either help review with the content? I think here there's no limit to what you can do to take part in this. Perhaps you even have materials. I think we got already some in the Jamboard today. And maybe you even have tools or resources or case studies. I would say when it comes to use cases, I might be reaching out to some of you here. If you're watching in the future, I have added an email here to our leads of the AI working group, Leila. Drop her a message. There's also a link here, and I will drop this very, very soon into the chat also, a form that you can use if you're interested in taking part in this project. I am adding the quick form right now. I'm also going to send you the email so it's easier to copy and paste for your notes to our leads of the AI working group, Leila. I think that is, Bo, you have been with this project from the very beginning. So it feels a little bit awkward being the one to sort of, presenting the next steps. But do you have any, I see that we still have a little bit of time. Is there anything you would like to add on this before we let people have their Friday?
Yeah, nothing to add, actually, Synne. I'm so glad that you can kind of take this forward. My role in this has just been kind of around advocating for the idea and getting it funded. So I'm really excited that it's been supported. We can now kind of move forward with it, and I know it's in like very, very safe hands. So nothing else from me, other than thank you very much for your participation and for your contribution to the presentation and therefore the toolkit going forward. But I will just open for like 5 minutes. If anybody has any questions that they'd like to ask, and you can just write them in the chat, excuse me, and we can answer. Otherwise, I'm happy to give everybody an early mark as it's a Friday afternoon for some people, or maybe a Friday morning for others, but it's still a Friday. So yeah, if there's no other questions, if you want to follow up with us afterwards, I think all of our contact, we can be contacted through the Pathable platform, as far as I understand. And we will post the recording, the resources, the Jamboards and everything will be posted there as well. So if you feel like you want to participate ongoing, or you feel like you've got some more links that you want to share or some more futures that you want to create, then we encourage that as well. With that, I'm not seeing any questions. Synne, I'm going to say good luck with all of what comes next in this. Thanks to everybody who's participated today, and enjoy your weekend.
Thanks, everyone. And thanks, Bo. Looking forward to talking to you soon.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Have a lovely day.